Welcome to the Hashimoto's Doctor podcast. You're now part of a growing community of people determined to take their health back through education and self-empowerment. But because of the healthcare system today, we don't have access to the types of healthcare that we want. So we have to do things differently. We've got to do things smarter, and we do that by becoming our own advocates. This podcast will give you the perspective and thoughts of one of the world's leading Hashimoto's doctors. So let's get started. Hey guys, Dr. Shook here. I hope you're doing well today. In today's podcast, what I want to talk to you guys about is your adrenal gland health and why your adrenal glands may not be improving. So you can supplement with lots of different adrenal precursors, which would be like B vitamins and a lot of the vitamins and minerals that give you the raw materials to be able to make your adrenal hormones. You can supplement with a lot of that stuff. And that's really been a classical approach in natural healthcare, is to supplement with those things and even take things like adrenal glandulars, which is basically the desiccated gland and it's put into a pill. So those are the classical approaches, but a lot of times adrenal glands don't respond with that approach. So then a more recent approach is going to be using adrenal gland adaptogens. And sometimes those things, these things are not necessarily, the original kind of approach that's been used for years, giving the materials needed to make the hormone, and then also glandulars. Is not necessarily that's a bad approach, but it's just one piece. It might not be the right tool for the job. And in most cases, I find that it's not the right tool for the job. So what we're going to talk about now are these adaptogens, which are more, I use them very frequently to help support adrenal gland function and balance. They can be critical. They can be essential, but really you have to do a blend of several things. But the more recent approach is going to be using these adrenal adaptogens, which are things that basically help your adrenal glands to have a more normal output of hormones for the stress response. So let's say you're making too much adrenaline, too much cortisol. The adaptogens will help to blunt that some. If you're not making enough, then they might help to raise that some. So it's an adaptogenic thing. If it's too high, it brings it down. If it's too low, it brings it up, right? So that's where you'll see things like ashwagandha root, rhodiola, but ashwagandha is the one that's probably more commonly used. It's an adaptogen. You just have to be careful with it, especially if someone's autoimmune, because ashwagandha is a nightshade, which can be a problem with their autoimmune. So ashwagandha is a common adaptogen. And then phosphatidylserine is another compound that we might use to help improve the rhythm of production. Now, phosphatidylserine is a fantastic adaptogen, but it's really more appropriate for rhythm, adrenal rhythm. So you have a daily rhythm of production of cortisol. It's higher in the morning, lower in the evening, and phosphatidylserine actually works more on the brain, the mechanism, the area. It helps to support brain regulation of the signaling of your cortisol that's made throughout the day. So it helps to have a more appropriate and improve the daily rhythm of production, which should be higher in the morning, lower in the evening, and then rise up throughout the night, and then end up higher in the morning again. So phosphatidylserine is fantastic for that. But we're talking about these things, guys, and I want to make one point very clear. The adrenal glands are never the primary problem. If your adrenal glands are too high or too low, your output's too high or too low, or your circadian, your rhythm of production of cortisol is off, that is not a primary adrenal problem. It's always secondary to something else. Okay, it's going to be secondary to it could be autoimmunity against the glands. It could be more commonly that what we see is that there's an inflammatory process or there's a stressor that is causing the adrenal glands to produce hormone, excessively, and that can actually fatigue or exhaust the adrenal glands and cause them to be depleted. So those stressors, what are the stressors? 3 different stressors, right? There's 3 different types of stressors. There are chemical, physical, and emotional stressors. Emotional stressors cause you to put you in a fight or flight response that stimulates that response that your body has. That fight or flight mechanism is carried out through the autonomic nervous system. It's part of your nervous system. That's controls all the involuntary functions of your body, and it signals the adrenals to produce cortisol, which is in a stress response. Okay, so when you're emotionally stressed out, guys, you change your chemistry. I hope that's very clear, because emotions do affect chemistry. Okay, now the other type of stressor is physical pain. Physical pain, let's say physical stress, right? Physical pain will create a stress response the same way that your emotional stressors do. Stimulates the fight or flight mechanism, triggers the adrenal glands to produce your hormones. It changes your chemistry, okay? Then the third thing is going to be the chemicals, like a chemical stressor. Chemical stressor, the perfect example, the most common problem that we find is inflammation. Inflammation drives the stress response because cortisol can be deactivated into cortisol, and that can have an anti-inflammatory effect. So these are all the stressors that could contribute to the activation, the depletion, the exhaustion, whatever you want to call it, the overactivation of the adrenal glands. That a lot of people from this natural medicine or alternative medicine perspective, or functional medicine, whatever you want to call it, functional nutrition, a lot of times, classically this has been supported symptomatically. And I mean, granted, you can do these things, you can use these initial protocol, like the glandulars and the supplying the body with the raw materials to make those hormones. That's not unreasonable. But most people have a capacity to make the hormones. It's just that they're having this stress response to something. That's what you've got to figure out. And that causes them to produce too much or too little. And those adaptogens can be helpful in balancing and supporting that process, okay? Supporting more optimal adrenal physiology, okay, and adrenal hormone levels. But the thing is, if you don't get to the root driver of that process, then you're going to have problems, and you're going to take supplements forever, and maybe they'll help you some, but you're not addressing the root issue, which is only going to promote further problems. You've got to get to the root of the issue. I've worked with a lot of people trying to work through these problems and investigate them, and I just find that there are a lot of people out there that spend a lot of money on supplements, and they take a lot of supplements, and they think that they have to take those forever, and if they don't take them, that they don't feel well. And I'm not saying that supplements for a lifetime might not be appropriate. Okay, I'm not saying that they're not appropriate. But what I am saying is that some people can't drive. No, I'm sorry, they're just not paying attention. So what I am saying though is that there's a time and a place for all of these interventions. You just have to address the cause. And I see a lot of people spend hundreds of dollars every month on all of these things that they think they have to have. Guys, I'm telling you right now, I'm not an advocate of supplementation for a lifetime. I will tell you that some people do need supplementation long term. I think that spurt dosing the supplementation is appropriate for a lot of people. I think that's probably completely reasonable. I spurt dose. I actually use a lot of supplements, but I use them because I'm working on performance enhancement. I'm not just working on dampening autoimmunity or something that I think I need to take on a maintenance basis. I am really using them primarily for performance enhancement, for mental enhancement. So what I want to tell you is, if you don't feel well and you don't have optimal health, I don't think that the primary approach that you need to be taking is to take supplements forever. I think you need to do exactly what I tell people to do every single day, and that is get the testing that you need to investigate your problems so that you can be specific in your approach to getting your health back and doing it the right way. You listen to me, get the testing that you need to get done to figure out what's going on. Your time and your life is passing you by. I don't know, so many people will gladly take supplements forever, and they don't realize what they're doing to themselves. Figure out what's going on so you can try to have the most vibrant and optimal health possible. Okay? I just want to share that with you guys because I think it's that important that you understand this approach to working with the adrenals, and that there are different approaches. From a natural perspective, you've got to always look at what's driving the adrenals to produce too much or not enough cortisol. And you got to understand that all of these changes with the adrenal glands will impact your hormones, your sex hormones like your estrogen and your progesterone, your testosterone. They'll also affect your conversion of your T4, your thyroid hormone, to T3, the active form. It will cause problems with receptor sensitivity, to the cellular sensitivity and responsiveness to your hormones. And there are numerous other physiological processes that you have to be aware of that you're going to end up creating a lot of problems with if you don't address the reason, you don't address the cause, and you're going to spend a lot of money on supplements that may help you, but you're only covering up the symptoms. So I want to share that with you guys today. I think it's a really important topic that we discuss these connections and these approaches, this approach to the adrenals and supporting the adrenals. The adrenals are always secondary to something else. What is that something else? If you can find that, a lot of times you're a lot closer to the root of the problem. Okay, so I hope this helps you guys out. I hope this helps to improve your quality of life and makes a difference. Remember, we're trying one person, one family, one community at a time so we can change the world. I want you guys to be educated so you can be your own advocates and be better partners with your healthcare providers. It means a lot to me. And I'll keep teaching. If you guys keep learning, please let us know how we can help you. Please go and review our podcast. Help us spread the word so that we can help other people and change the world. Thank you guys so much. Talk to you soon. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed hanging out behind the scenes with Dr. Shook. You can also talk with and learn from Dr. Shook through Facebook Live on our Facebook page at the Office of Dr. Brad Shook. Don't forget, you can also get access to our videos, guidebooks, and thyroid programs at www.drbradshook.com. Oh yeah, and don't forget one more thing. We can change the world one person, one family, and one community at a time. Until next time, remember, today is your day, and no one will tell you who you are and what you can be.